Welcome to the Pardon My Art podcast with me, your host, Oscar Castro. This show is all about the artist. Our podcast features creatives doing amazing things in the art world and across a wide range of artistic mediums to help inspire other artists to reach their full creative potential. Today's guest is Charles Edward Mason, an accomplished culinary artist. That's not what we're going to talk about with Charles today. Charles is also an accomplished maker who is known publicly for his time spent on the reality TV show Steampunk'd, a show that brought other creatives together in a steampunk-themed competition to see who would stand out as the best steampunk creative. Over the pandemic period, Charles put the combination of skills he has acquired into making cosplay outfits and accessories and has become a sought-after creative for those looking to commission him for steampunk and cosplay creations. Let's jump into the conversation. Thanks for saying yes. I was going through trying to find where I could see the steampunked that you're in, and I was like, oh right, I got to catch up on the episodes. I have yet. I don't know. I didn't get to the end yet, so I don't know what absolutely happened. But I'm like, I didn't even know this was a thing until like I started talking to you and researching and realized because my daughter and I we used to watch this other. Similar reality TV show, contest show, where they had the special effects stuff. Yeah. So that was fascinating when she was younger, and we really got into it for a while. And then I think I don't know, maybe one or two seasons, and then we moved on to other things. And then I'm like, oh, this is the kind of thing we would have watched when she was a kid.
We started filming that. They were starting to film that right after our show. So it's like, oh my god, because they were like, "What's going on over there at that next studio?" They're like, "Well, there's a new reality TV show regarding special effects and stuff like that and costumes." I'm like, "Oh, okay, well."
Well, I think I have a question about how you describe what you do. As I was watching the TV show Steampunk'd, and I was remembering some things from some time ago when I was learning about maker spaces and the maker spaces. I live in Philadelphia, so there were a bunch of different types of maker spaces that were popping up, and I had thought about getting a membership because I had yet to do that, but there were all of the resources there to do the kind of things that I think I was watching you all do on that show. You had all the tools available, you know, everything. So do you call yourself a maker and or an artist, or like what else do you call yourself? How do you describe what you do?
I want to. How is the best way I want to say? I'm a creator, artist, inventor. I try to go with original ideas more than something that's already pre-existing. I it's just I feel like I get more gratification to create something from my own heart than just someone else's imagination that you're cosplaying. No, I like when I cosplay, I want to say, how am I going to create a character based on my body type that can accentuate my arms and my looks or my height or my weight, so I come in that front door powerful. So it's a creator of worlds and imagination. So that's who I am. Makes me happy.
And we've only been Facebook friends for maybe 2 years, and I've been following your exploits and the creations that you've been making with wonder and awe. Like I definitely want to dig into your process and the way you pick your materials. But what got you started? Like, how did you get into the mindset that this was a thing that you even wanted to be doing?
Um, when I was a kid growing up, my mother, the crazy thing, she would take us to see horror movies, and I'm talking about the really nitty gritty stuff, not like the fun laughter, what you call it, kind of films that are just pure comedy. And that's where it really sank in when she would take us to these films that are just really gross, and you would wake up the next day with just nightmares. But these films really hit home for me, and that was my originality of creating something that I knew I could be a part of that world. So when I grew up in Hollywood, California, we were in the spot, and I just didn't know how to get into the industry. So my father, he worked for he's a, what do you call it, a famous auto detailer, and he worked for the stars, and so he started asking around for me. He's like, hey, my son really wants to get into this, do you have any pointers? And it was basically just get your foot in the door, ground level, at any of these workshops. And I found one, and his name was Screaming Mad George. He was a Japanese gentleman that did the Guyver and what do you call it, Tales from the Hood, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And getting in the door, just let me do whatever I can just to get started.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a good starting point for me. But that was my beginnings right there.
Wow, wow. So, like professionally, were you able to find work with those folks, or like under a tutelage of some sort, where you could apprentice with them?
Yeah, there was a gentleman named Mike McGee that
Mm-hmm.
took me in. He was Screaming Mad George's like secondhand man in the shop, and George didn't really want anything to do with me because I was just a kid that was like 19, 20 years old that didn't have any experience in that industry. And I was like, well, that's pretty sad. You're not giving me at least some pointers or some know-how. I'm coming to you because you're the man. You know, your crazy imagination ideas can help get me to that next level. And he didn't have the patience. But Mike McGee, he saw something inside of me that was just mind blowing. So he gave me the opportunity. Uh, he showed me different techniques on sculpting foam out of nothing,
Mm-hmm.
utilizing broken toys, and because of him, he helped that small little spark that I had inside of me that I knew I had something. And to this day, I'm still using that spark that has bloomed into something great, of course, and it's fun.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Fun.
I mean, you definitely inspired me. I a few years ago had discovered the world of kit bashing, and didn't know what I had fallen into. I was like, oh wow, people. I was doing that kind of thing when I was a kid,
Right.
messing around with my broken toys and piecing them together with tape or glue, whatever. It didn't last because I didn't have the right materials to keep it to make it last. But I was making my own ray guns and stuff out of stuff, right?
Yeah.
And here you have people who are I learned about the toys that we all grew up with that were really remanufactured other toys. So the
Sure.
GI Joe doll was based off of a Spider-Man doll or something like that, right?
Right.
And so this has been a thing for years. But then I've been watching how people can create essentially original artwork or pieces of art out of other pieces of art, essentially, if you will, if you would look at it as such, and I see, for a few years I've been walking around the streets of Philadelphia and picking up found toys for my Instagram thing. When I see or in the trash, why are you throwing out all those toys? Oh my God! Well, I'm going to pick out these and I'm going to make them famous. But I occasionally pick up what others might have considered trash, like what is that piece of metal? Like why
Right.
would I want that piece of metal? And so my question to you is like, I know that you are, uh, if you're like me in the sense that you see an object that others would pass up or had thrown away, and you see it as art, how do you manage your collection? How do you like a painter goes to their well of paints, right? And you go to your well of what do you have?
Right. When I do see something that has an original shape that I just something inside of me just goes nuts. I know that I cannot maybe not use it right now, but I have maybe some future plans for it, and I
Mm-hmm.
can't let that get out of control because I don't have any space for that stuff. So I try to keep it at a minimum, and if I'm not going to use it now, I may use it in 5 to 10 years. So yeah, I'm definitely in the same boat when I find found items
Mm-hmm.
is what it's called, especially steampunk folks. That's what we utilize on our creations to make things that are just out there. So I have this place called Surplus Gizmos and Things out here in Beaverton, Oregon, and this place is just junk. It is computer stuff that they've been throwing away for years and years. And I'm like, oh my God, I just come into heaven right now. You could spend 2 hours and you didn't even know that you were just walking around, pulling out these little bins, looking at these little trinkets. Your mind is just going places. So that is my, and growing up poor too, you could, you have to make your imagination.
Mm-hmm.
You have to create fun, and or just what, live in squalor and complain all the time. No, I had imagination. I had sound effects that I made with my mouth, and I went places where I just created a whole new worlds, and that was a lot of fun. And who's to say that these places do not exist in another reality? So maybe I'm just foreshadowing something that is out there and bringing it to this world. And I just want everybody to pay attention to what I found and what I created that's somewhere else, right? It was fun.
I think about the Mandalorian costume or outfit that you created, the armor and all of that. And as I watched you like put it together and piece it, paint it, I think I might that might have been the one time I asked you about what was your adhesive and what were you using for different things. But that's like a thing that you can wear for a while. I mean, it looks like it's a really solidly built piece of armor that you could see on that TV show next season or any season after that. Like, how long did it take you to do that? And yeah, what was your process? What were you using? Like, I'm assuming you use different types of adhesive and different ways of piecing things together. But for the folks who might be listening, who are I hope are going to see that your armor, are like, oh my God, he did that. Well, if he can do it, I can do it too, right? Like,
Right.
what's your methodology?
So when I first saw the TV show, I was just like ecstatic. Just it was blowing me away that this could be the ultimate showdown of like it's our wild wild west,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's how it felt. Space Wild West. And I originally was only gonna make the helmet. I swear to you, that was it. Because I was like, well, I'll just have it, I'll make it, and I'm just hang it on the wall, and I stare at it, and it's going to inspire me every day. Oh
Mm-hmm.
man, I'm telling you,
Right.
that's where I got the bug. It ate me alive. It's like, hey, you over here, if you just make
Mm-hmm.
how about a chess piece? And it's like, oh, okay, I'll make a chess piece. And then it just kept going and growing. So I just said, fine, fine, we're going to do this. But to make a character that best represents myself, I'm not making the Mandalorian from the TV show. I'm doing it that is me. It's my character. I built a whole storyline. I made his own ship out of broken parts, hair curlers.
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you, okay? So even a diorama, because I would want everybody to see who this guy truly is and how badass he is, right? So I used what I go to as my, because I'm a foam smith officially. I created it out of 6 millimeter, 4 millimeter craft foam that I cut by hand. Everything I do is by hand. And then I use contact cement, a little bit of super glue, some what do you call it, hot glue. So whatever is not going to interfere with the process and make it look messy, you want to make it as clean as possible, because when me coming from the film industry, it's important that we create a clean hero prop. That's the one that the camera zooms in on and they're just like, oh my God, this is just so awesome. It's not the one that they fight and they roll in. That's the other outfits. This is the one that you walk in and everybody's ooh and ah. So I wanted to make it solid, right? Because I want to be comfortable. I had to add fans to it because I overheat. I'm a big guy, 280 pounds, 6'4". So walking around a convention, talking to people, it can kind of get a little hot, and we don't know if it's the summertime
Right.
or if it's the
Right.
winter
Right.
time. And weather's changing, so we have to create a costume again based on my body type that is gonna best help keep me comfortable too. So yeah, that's ooh, yeah, I'm telling you. That was a good character. I'm so glad I made it at the time frame that I did, and it has inspired so many people to just keep going and to make and to use your hands. I'm not a 3D printer guy. I can't stand 3D printing. It has its place. Don't get me wrong, it does. But if you're making a whole costume out of it, it's not yours. It's not yours. And you can't walk around with pure pride like I do that I made my own blueprints that best fit this giant size body because I can't buy the guy that's selling a replica of a costume. So I have to go find every single piece and then create it to make sure it fits. I have to tear it. I have to stretch it because my shoulders are wide. I'm an ex-football player, right? So it's not easy to shop for guys like myself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, there's another question there, right? Like I have a daughter, she's 25, 26, going on 26. She's been really into cosplay for I think as long as she's been a teenager, maybe, semi-adult. And heavily influenced by the comics that I think got that influence from me being very much into the comics. And as a person of color who is like in this world of cosplay, I don't really know what the demographics are, but I do, like, I hear you when you're talking about um, people who are different sizes and can't just go to the cosplay store, the Halloween store, and get the stuff off the rack, and today I'm going to be so and so, or maybe an easier character that might be not that hard to put together with what you have in your house, but a little bit of paint, a little bit of tearing up your clothes, and you are the Joker, right? Whatever. But like to really like to create something as intense and as detail oriented as your armor. I'm assuming that there are people out there. I've seen enough costumes out there. I'm assuming a lot of them are 3D printed. But are you getting people who are saying, "Hey, I would love to get into this," and there's no way that I can just buy anything off the rack, and I'm not making it myself. Can you make it for me?
Well, see, the TV show kind of helped push the factor of me not stopping halfway. It wanted me to push it to another level and see what I could and couldn't do. Take you out of your comfort zone. So I on the show they utilized me as the painter to age things because it was my specialty already, and it's something that I talked about before is never be one medium. It's you got to be multi-medium. I'm a Bob Ross. I'm a cosplayer. I'm a mask maker. I like Victorian masks. So you need to go and do elegant pieces. You need to do something that's more grunge pieces. You have to get in the different patterns so that you can better understand your materials and your paints so that you can bring your story to life. Because a lot of folks, you can tell by the way they do things, you're stuck on one type of painting. And it's just one type of style. You're not going to excel to that next level unless you just do something that's different. So painting is so much fun, and I hated colors growing up when I was a kid. I was a black and white goth type. It was just that was my thing, and I loved charcoal and shadowing, and that was my baby. When growing up as a high school and in my 20s, and then when I hit my 30s, I was like, I can start playing with some color, I suppose. And I started mixing, and then I started mixing my spray cans in the sun, and what it can do, it just brings it to life. And then also living in the Northwest, I'm telling you, it has rained for 30 days, and you still have to keep going. So you have to adapt. You can't just say, well, I'm going to shut down everything until the spring. We're going to call it even. No, you don't. So I had to adapt to the climate of it's 30 degrees and my paints are all cold. So you have to warm them up in a warm tub of water so that you're ready to use them in a enclosed area. And if you can get a little sunshine or there's a break in the clouds, then hurry up and get out there and do it, and then run back inside. So I'm telling you, it's thrown the book at me living up here, and I have I've beat it. Not a lot of people could say that. I have beat it. I've got it in its place, and I just go into a different type of mode. So you never want to. Oh, and also use different paints. You know, I use acrylics. I use hand paints. I have different.
Mm-hmm.
I use sponges that you use in the kitchen to wash dishes, because it's got different big air cells that gives you a different pattern or a different look. Um, Paintbrushes, spray paints. So there's times you can use it, sometimes you can't. Airbrushing. Airbrushing may look a little scary
Mm-hmm.
because it's not really explained thoroughly to a lot of folks. But my father-in-law purchased an airbrush kit for me, and you know what it is? I just sat down and I did it. I just like, let's just try doing shading. Shading. Go back to what you know best, which was shading back when you're in your 20s. You got this, right? And boom. I was like, oh, this is how gentle you use the finger touch. And you have to clean it thoroughly, and you have to really baby that machine because it can bring a regular item to life because of the shading or the metallics that you can use.
I honestly, because I think I had seen you post something in in the last year, I was like, I need to get myself an airbrush set, and I haven't had an airbrush since I was 15, and I had the canisters because I couldn't afford the air compressor, and I didn't have the tools to take care of it. So the ink, the paint got dried up inside of the. I was like, I'm never
Oh
going to be able to
man.
do this. I hated it. I wanted to love it, but I just didn't have it. I didn't have it to be able to do that. And then for Christmas, for Christmas, what do you want for Christmas? I would like an airbrush kit, and I got it. And so, I'm still afraid of it. Yeah, so you're right. Like there is that. It's a little scary, but as I've used it more and more, I know what you mean. And but because of you, I was testing. I have to. I want to test it on different materials and see what sticks and what works and what doesn't work. So I have, yeah, you've inspired me in that way to just even want to play with an airbrush again. I was over it when I was 15. I was like,
Good.
"No, I'm never gonna
Right
do
on.
this." Yeah.
No, get
So
in there. Do it, man. It's so much fun. It's so much fun.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So the other thing that really turned me on when I was watching your stuff on Facebook was like you not only do costume type things, you create other types of stuff. I remember you had created the Howl's Moving Castle piece that was super amazing that you made out of. I don't remember what you made that out of, but that was like super duper amazing.
Easter egg, Easter egg stuff.
Yeah, right,
That's
right,
what that was made out of.
right. And I'm like, he is not really doing this. He is not really. He is really doing this. He is doing this. And and that was a commission.
Yeah, it was for my brother.
Right. And then you made recently the gun, the killer clown gun, right?
Right, the
Which was
cotton candy
the
gun.
cotton candy gun, and then and now you're making the sword from Blade. Like
Yeah.
you do these amazing other things as well. Tell us more.
Right.
Tell us more about that.
So when it came to the house moving castle, my brother, I promised my family I want to leave behind an art piece that will be dedicated to each family member because I'm the first of 8 brothers and 1 sister. So, and I wanted to give them something. If I ever passed, they have something of mine that represented the love I have for my family. And he chose for his family How's Moving Castle. Okay, I got it. He's like, you sure? I'm like, yeah, just don't tell me about it. I'll do my own research. I'll make my own blueprints. And it was the perfect time because it was Easter. And when I was looking at the castle, I was like, I need something that looks like a giant Easter egg. 99-cent store, here I came. And there it was. Everything I needed was 99 cents. And I made it on a budget and just a lot of fun, right? When it comes to my son, he wanted to be the killer clown from outer space for Halloween. He was like, oh, I wish we had the gun that came with this. I'm like, that's $50. You know something? Wait a minute. I think I have what I need at home. Remember, I don't throw away anything. So let me go home. Let me see what I can do. As soon as we got home from buying this costume, I had everything downstairs. He was like, no way. I'm like, yeah, just let me do it, and I'll promise you, you're going to get the cotton candy gun. And it was just what do you call it? A recycled bottle that my wife drank a long time ago, pomegranate juice or something like that. And golf balls. Oh my god. And some foam and just a lot of like love. 10 to 11 care of just the love that I have for that film. We grew up on that film, so it means a lot to my family. And I know it probably means a lot to other people. I don't know. But my son was super excited. As soon as he put the costume on, we did a little photo shoot inside the house, and he looked fantastic, right? So, and then for the blade swords, I got a call 3 weeks ago from two gentlemen that are going to dress up as Blade at this coming up Los Angeles con in December 2nd. And they're like, could you make us blade swords? Sure. I have no idea what I'm doing. So I reached out to a gentleman that he did cosplay as Blade in New York. His name is Raymond Ramirez. And I was like, hey, bro, I don't know what I'm doing. So how did you get the blade in the blade sword? And he's like, I use a yardstick. And I sat there and I could have slapped myself. How easy of how he just dropped that on me. Like, why didn't I think of that? I don't I don't know. But so when I saw that, when he told me, my mind started automatically making blueprints. And I already knew what I needed to make everything solid and just perfect. And from there, I shaved it down to make it look like a blade. I sanded, spray painted, resanded. It was like, I wanted these perfect, but not only did the two guys wanted them, I wanted one for myself. So, so I was like, hey, since I'm already making two, why not just make one more? Right? So now I have mine, which I could sell if anybody wants it, because anything I make is for sale. That's perfectly fine. So, but it was a task that I'm telling you, making things by hand was not easy. Okay, it's hard to charge folks in that industry of cosplay that it's not too much, but it's not too little to hurt you. That you could make a profit to continue your buying your supplies to keep pushing and teaching other folks about the stuff. So that was really hard. That I threw out a number and they're like, that's fair. We can do that. And it made me super excited when they say yes, because I get to make something I have never made before. I get to try a new technique that I've never tried before, and let's see if it works. So there's a lot of research and development that goes into creating anything. I want to know the history. I want to know every photo I can capture because I need all angles. And I'm telling you, the blade sword, there wasn't a lot of angles. They keep using almost the same frontal area, and I kind of had to come up with my own hieroglyphs, which is perfectly fine, right? So I watched the movie, and when I watched the movie, the hieroglyphs that were on the wall at the very end of the film, before all the vampires were dying, you could see what they're like all about. So you can just transform that into the blade sword, and voila, there you go. Get a little creative and a lot of fun, right? That's what it's all about.
Neat.
Yeah.
Right, right. Because I mean, the level of detail is still there. So people who are looking as closely as anybody who's a cosplayer trying to have an exact replica. I look at. I couldn't tell you from one to the next lightsabers. I happened to find a lightsaber. I mean, I'll show it. I was walking by. I don't know why people do this, but I guess I do know why people do this because I've thrown away
Yeah.
things before that. I wish now I hadn't, things like this, and I'm walking by, this is in the trash, and apparently this is Darth Vader's sword. I would have just thought it was, or lightsaber. I would have
Right.
just thought it was a lightsaber, but this is Darth Vader's lightsaber, and so if I'm walking around dressed up as Luke Skywalker carrying Darth Vader's lightsaber, it's because I must have killed Darth Vader. Is the implication, right? Because I was supposed to have Skywalker's saber, not Darth Vader's. But I wouldn't know. That level
Right.
of detail is beyond me because I'm not into cosplay like that. But uh, and I think even if you're getting to the level of minutia of looking at the blade sword, like you'd have to be super super anal. It has to be an
I
exact
tore it
replica.
apart twice. I tore mine apart. I used mine for the guinea pig, so because like I've never done this before, so I'll start with mine, and whatever I messed up on, let's not do that for the next two. Okay, cool. So I did that, and I made some mistakes. Okay, and then when I got to theirs, it actually helped make the process a lot smoother because my name is on these. My name is attached to these. And that means a lot to me that you're getting a Charles Mason piece that is fantastic. You're not going to get an under par. So when I tore it apart because I made a mistake, that's just me being anal and maybe a little OCD
Hmm.
because things didn't line up, but that's okay. It's cool to be like that. I'm like that with my food. I'm like that with my detailing. So, because I'm an auto detailer, and when you clean someone's car, you want perfection that you're about to give this person back their vehicle better than they gave it to you, and you don't want them to be like, oh, what
Right.
about this and what about that? No, you're not doing that to me because I didn't give you something that was under par. And same thing when I'm a pastry chef. So when I make cakes or cookies or anything for you for your parties, parfaits, I want to give you something that's going to be like talked about. That where the hell did you get this? This not only looks stimulating,
Right.
but it tastes fantastic. So it means a lot to me. I chose the hardest fields in this life. Cosplaying is hard. Auto detailing is extremely difficult, and everybody hates baking, but I love it. I love it. I love them all.
I mean I am not the baker that I think sometimes I wish I were. My daughter loves to bake. My wife's a great baker. I've made some bread, but I've watched those shows where the people, those cooking shows, those baking shows where they're making the amazing things, and to know that you have this as another skill set that I think complements your ability to, like, if you can decorate cakes and create pastries that are both beautiful and tasty, it shows in also the other things that you do. I see you putting your 100% self into all of these creations that you've shared, and to know people who are working on social media putting themselves out there, that's a pretty vulnerable space to be. And I've seen nothing but love from the folks that are following you, watching you do the thing that you do with your art. So at some point, I'd love to taste your
I'll send you
pastries.
some.
So, yeah.
You can do that.
So, what, like, words of wisdom would you have for young people who are working on a budget, who are trying to get into the industry, if that's a thing for them? Like trying to be those people who are in Hollywood making art for the films and for the TV shows, that people will wear or that will show up as set design. Like, I can imagine that being an amazing thing that you'd be doing as well if you were back in Hollywood. What do you think people need to know besides and outside of, I think, the traditional art school route as well? Like, does somebody really need to do that? Do they need to go to college? Do they need to go to the fanciest school where they teach special effects creation stuff, or what other path might there be for them?
Right. A good one would be stick to your guns. Excel at just creating art as much as possible. Change your mediums and listen to your heart. And because you're going to get a lot of hate, a lot of hate. It may come from family, it may come from just strangers. Remember, they're strangers. They don't know who you are. They don't know the love that you have for the craft. And your heart is the most important thing that you want to pump out there and show this world that you can create just as good as someone that has a degree in the field. I've come across people that have degrees in art. I'm sorry, I'm not a big firm believer in teaching art. You're either an artist or you're not. You know what I mean? I'm not a rocket scientist, so I know you got to go to school for that, but no. I've seen some horrible people that have gone to art school, and you think that because they use that as a prestige, that they've gone to this school and they've taught them so many different techniques. No, no. I'm a much better person because I don't walk around because I was on TV. I don't walk around because I make better things than everybody else. I don't do that. I don't say that. I don't think that. That's nasty and that's a bad ego. So never develop a bad ego about your art. Be proud of who you are. Be proud of the creations that you're making. That's so important. You know, I have my wife. She's a great validator for any of the stuff I'm making. I'm having a little trouble. I come upstairs like, yo, can you help me? Am I missing something? Because we get so super beeline focused that we may miss the simple little things. And she says one sentence, and I'm like, are you kidding me? Did I just miss that? Oh my God, I love you. And then I'll run back downstairs and change it all, right? So it's just beautiful. So school is not, I wanted to go to the Art Institute of Seattle when I was graduating high school back in 97. Yeah, buddy, I'm old. So, for 1900s, it was a thing because I wanted to go into special effects, and I thought maybe if I got a degree in special effects, that was before the studio started creating special effects workshops back in Hollywood. Um, I wanted to at least have a line basis because everybody from the old school were telling me you gotta go to school, you gotta go to college. It doesn't matter which one you go to, you just need to go. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Because I could have spent $50,000 on nothing. You're not gonna reap that money back. You know what's gonna pay it back? The love, the desire, the passion that you will have downstairs in your garage, in your room, that you're pumping out and just continuously trying new things and just keep making. And but you need to get better. You cannot stay on a straight line like it's just dead. You have to keep growing as an artist. It is one of the most important things. Try all mediums. It is so, our world is art. Looking at a tree, looking at a bush, when you go and you walk into nature, just seeing how beautiful things just look naturally, you're just like, we're living in it. So let's share that with the world because we have a gift as an artist to show people happiness. Maybe they forgot what it means to be happy, to put the phone down and to actually smell our surroundings and hear nature talking to you. And it does something to you, it awakens. So that is so important that I want the young people to understand, to make your own blueprints. Make your own blueprints. Don't ask me, don't ask anybody else. That's cheating. Okay, that's not getting in there. You want to understand the full-fledged function of this, just get in there and make your own. Draw. That's where I started. I still have my very first drawing of Pluto when I was in junior high, and now that I can draw, I can sketch, it did something. It helped give me the baseline that I need for today. Because sometimes you need to draw out an idea that's stuck inside your head that you just need a little assistance. So sitting down in a calm place and just sketching out your ideas, oh, it's fantastic. And to see it bloom right before your eyes, it's a euphoric moment for myself that I just created a piece, a character, a storyline to go along with everything I have right in front of me. That Mandalorian character is alive. He has a name. He has a background. He has a spaceship. He has a spaceport. He's got a full costume, and you're just like, no way that just happened. It never stops at just a small point. You've got to take it further. It's so important.
So what's on the horizon for you? Like, what's your next big challenge? You think? What do you have something that if you're ready to tell us, do you have something that's like that's amazing that you want to unravel and say you will not believe what I'm
I'm
making next?
going to
What is that?
attempt, and I know I'm going to do it, to make the 1980s version of Dune still suit. Um, I'm I love that movie. Okay, I'm a child of that time period. Me and my mother, it hit us home. Every time I watch the movie, I cry at certain segments of that film because it's emotional for me. And I've always loved the way the still suits look. And I was like, how in the hell am I going to make that? I want to make that, but I'm not ready. But I will get there by making all these other pieces, and I will put that into a little box, and I'll be ready to go this year. So I just figured out the little segments that I need to go purchase. I'm telling you, it's got to be at a lower cost, or I'm not going to do it because it's not cost effective for a cosplayer to spend hundreds of dollars. And I want to make the still suit. I think it's going to be fantastic. So, and I still have my old Crucible. I created a character that is the son of Hephaestus from Greek mythology. He he's not a well-known son, because the gods, they had so many lovers in their time, and they just had babies everywhere. So I'm one of those, and I'm a blacksmith, but I'm a foam smith. Again, I'm creating characters from my own personal experience. That's what's important. And I want to button him up because he was almost done. But when you stop a project right mid, and then you jump onto other things, years may go by, and then you're like, oh man, I want to change some things. So he's gonna go through a little bit of metamorphosis, and I want to what do you call it? Debut him this coming up year. He needs to be seen. It is magnificent from head to toe.
Nice, 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 nice. Um, Final thoughts. I know you have a family, and how does that fit into your work life creative balance? And obviously, doing the thing for your kid was an amazing thing for you to be able to say, "Oh, I got you," and I'm gathering that you get to support from your family in other ways. But how do you manage the balance of I have these ideas, but I might not have all the time in the world, like it seemed like you did on that show, to just like, okay, give it. Well, you didn't really, you didn't have all the time in the world, but you had all the resources, you had the space, you had the time that they gave you to do it, and you didn't have the, oh, I got to go pick up somebody from soccer. Okay, ooh, all right, I got to leave the studio now and go do that. How do you manage that?
Growing up as a kid, my dad wasn't really there. He Work was more important to him, and it kind of hurt. So I wanted to be a better man, and but I wasn't going to give myself, what's the word I'm looking for, excuses that I couldn't be there. So
Hmm.
I cook, I clean, I take care of my wife and my son. I cook all the meals. I prep the lunches. I go to work. I come home, and sometimes I have to go to work again because I bake and I auto detail on the side just to make the ends meet in these times. And if I can go downstairs for an hour, that's enough, because that's enough that I put some time in for that day. They understand how important this is. This is my happy place, and you don't want to get into my way when it comes to me being happy. My family is everything, so they
Mm-hmm.
know I'm always around. Like I'm I made dinner, I'm washing clothes, and I'm still checking up on my son to make sure that he's like, he's good. Did you take a shower today? Like I have ideas that I got to go downstairs later to start the next project. It's constantly going, and it maybe that's why I'm still
Hmm.
fit. And some people said I don't have a dad bod because it's not fair that I'm I got a lot of muscle still because my body is always on the move. I'm always moving this and that. I gotta walk the dog. I don't know what it is. I don't sit still very long, and it's not a problem. But I'm the hardest working father that I know, and I'm not complaining one bit that I make time for everyone. And when I die, my son won't say he was never there. That would break my heart. But
Right.
no, I'm there for my wife. I love her very much. I make sure that she's fed and kissed and loved. The dog, you know, he just wants a little hug here and there. Hey, don't forget to feed me. It's those little things that are so super important. If we just take that little time and don't forget the people that we love and that they love us too, to just to do that. And I love taking care of my family. It is the best job in the world. It is the best. I love cooking for my family. You should see how happy they are when they get fed uh, a real good dinner that's got spices and it smells fantastic. They emerge out of their rooms. Oh God, is it time to eat? Not yet. It's coming, but it's great. And I wish everybody could do that, but I met a lot of dads in this world, and I'm still meeting them, and they're just bleh. So they have a lot of work to do.
I would. You're making it happen. You're doing it. It's obvious, I think, and so keep doing what you're doing. You're a credit in that way as well. I think an example for all the folks who are like, how can I do this and do
Yeah.
that? Was just talking earlier today about folks going back to college, at our age, right, and or finishing college, if that's a thing. If you've started and maybe stopped and then didn't finish, and there's never a time to say no. Honestly, it's always a good time to, hey, if you feel like you can do it, right, do it. And yet there are a lot of people making excuses for one thing or another, other things that are getting in the way, and life happens. And for the folks who have the most horrible, traumatic, dramatic lives, maybe they have the best excuses for why, they're where they are. And even then, I think the awakening or the will or the opportunities that might, just by even listening to this, as somebody might come across this particular podcast who is down on their luck and saying, I can't do that. And then boom, because, you've been able to show that it can be done. I appreciate that. Where can people see your work? Like, do you have a way for folks to plug into you? And especially if folks are looking to commission you to create custom pieces, how would they reach you?
Let's see. You can email me at lordmason78 or you can find me at charlesmason78 on Instagram.
Awesome. Great. It's been so great having you on this show, brother. I am so glad we had a chance to talk and I got a chance to meet you. I keep doing what you're doing because it's inspiring me to do some of the stuff that I'm doing. I don't know if you can see behind me, but there's some pieces that I'm working on. Some of them are different stages of, and I'm working with mannequin heads for right now. Like it's a thing and mannequin bodies on one. There's a body part over here, so I'm like, I'm thinking about the all of the things like, oh, what did he use to adhese that? Oh, all right. So should I use the airbrush on this, or should I just find an acrylic paint out of the tube, which is going to be the better thing to get the effect that I'm looking for? And because I'm watching you do the work, I've been inspired to just when I make the time and have the time to do these pieces that I'm constantly working on, I'm getting there and I'm learning, and I appreciate you for that.
You can always reach out to me if you personally need that assistance. Anybody. I actually do answer. And if you have you're stuck on something and you need some tips, I'm there for you. I can help you through whatever you got going on, and I inspire a lot of young people that are currently doing that. And I do reserve my time to cultivate their imagination. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. awesome. So many more artists need to be like that, and that's the purpose of this show, is to really unite artists who are like-minded and are thinking about community. How can I learn from others? What can I give to others in this community of creators and makers and artists of different types?
Yes.
And so, I look forward to having you back on the show again, brother. And I am going to be watching for those upcoming events when you start sharing those things that have been waiting around to be made. So yeah.
You got it. You got it. Anytime.
All right. Well, thanks again.
Okay. You take
All
care of
right.
yourself. Thank you very much.
Thank you, brother.
You're welcome.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Pardon My Art podcast. I hope that you learned something or were inspired by something that our guest had to say. Our goal is to build one of the largest networks of artists with the simple motto of each one teach one. If you like what you hear, please subscribe to my Patreon page at patreon.com/Oscar, and Oscar is spelled with a K. Well, that's all for now. Stay tuned for more interesting conversations with artists who are ready to share their amazing stories and inspire you to create your own. Be good to yourself and do great things.